Everybody. So as we've been getting into this literacy narrative, I've gotten a few questions from people who are working a little ahead, and so I thought these are probably some things that everybody needs to know. And so here we go, the birth of this quick presentation, hopefully quick presentation that should help you. Now, just to remind you, this is the first time that Slew's asked that I do this assignment, so it's new to me as well. And so you guys are kind of helping shape my understanding of what this assignment should really look like. But with that in mind, I want to make sure that I'm giving you the best possible ammunition for writing a really superior essay. And Bart Twain's being a big pain right now, so you're going to hear him clomping around throughout my presentation here. So, again, just some questions that some other people have asked that I think might help you. Thinking about what sources should I use, where should I pull from my reading career, and how do I cite? And so, for me, the book that got me to really realize that there's a difference between books and literature is The Catcher in the Rye. I read it between my sophomore year of high school and my junior year of high school, and that summer. It was a requirement for a course, and I really connected to Holden Caulfield and really started to understand the difference between a lot of the books that I had read prior to that one and what that one is kind of able to do. I kind of realized, like, oh, there are all these images in this book, and there's all these metaphors, and what does it mean to be a catcher in the rye, and kind of all these other things. And so that I would say is like the first time that I really encountered literature. And that would be the beginning of my real literacy narrative. Probably not like the Trumpeter Swan that I insisted my grandmother read to me over and over and over again, or the number of Star Wars books that I had read prior to high school or kind of in my early high school career. Probably not even like The Hobbit that I read when I was in ninth grade, um, or the whole Sword of Shannara series that I read when I was in ninth grade. I'm trying to remember what I read when I was in 10th grade. Maybe Shakespeare, but I think the way that I was taught Shakespeare was probably like the way that a lot of people are unfortunately taught Shakespeare, just kind of like, here's a play and it's got all this stuff in it. And it's called Romeo and Juliet. Um, and learning more about the author than the actual work. Um, and that's going to get me to my second point, which is you probably want to pick something not just that's adult, but that's adult and that you really dealt with, like you really kind of had to tackle in some way. For me, I was able to do that with Catcher on my own. And Catcher became a book that I just had to reread and reread. And I've read Catcher at least 20 times now on my own. And I'm actually setting down to do that again, like maybe in the next couple days. I just have an itch to read it again. And so it's a book that I keep coming back to, and a book that I know every time I read it, I'm going to get a different perspective on something about that book. Um, so that's kind of what I would pull. What you're really going to notice is if you're thinking about this, that the books are probably books that you've read for class, and they're probably books that you had to encounter in class. So I know for a lot of you, that's going to be Lincoln in the Bardo, that this is maybe the first book that you really had to think critically about, especially if you were absorbed in discussions with other people or discussions in class and kind of getting to questions that maybe we didn't think about. And so this is going to kind of get to my other thing, like, is the work that you're thinking about, does it have literary merit? Did you think critically about it while you were reading it? Um, and then there's a recency bias, right? That like if you read something when you were in eighth grade, then it might be too far away for you to really connect to it. It might be crystallized for you, like Catcher is for me. I could always write about Catcher. But again, I've come back to it year after year after year. I don't know if I would feel comfortable writing about a book that I only read once when I was in 10th grade. But I'm also, much, much older than all of you. Uh, going back to, okay, so how do I source it? How do I cite it? Um, so other things that kind of bring up, one is another point is they don't have to be books, right? They can be plays, they can be speeches, all types of things that we have dealt with in our class and that you dealt with in English 2 and that you dealt with in English 1. We have all types of works for you to go through. So if you were really inspired by Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham prison cell, then go back and look at that. It's still up on Canvas. You can still look at it. So, obviously, I have a copy of Catcher in the Rye because I keep it around. And so I can pull it off my bookshelf to cite it anytime that I want. If you are having trouble with citations, let me remind you of Purdue OWL. Purdue OWL answers all of your citation questions rather nicely. When we go to Purdue OWL, the first thing that I'm really going to do is go to their citation guide or their MLA guide, because remember, this is an MLA. For those of you who are still just, maybe needing a good refresher, maybe you really struggled with American definition essay as far as just making sure you have sources, the research and citation guide is the place to go. We have all types of neat tools up here, including, if I can find it, a sample essay. And that sample essay is always a nice, beautiful little resource. There we go. That reminds you of certain things. So like when I say things should be in MLA style, right? This gives you so much. It's going to tell you like how to put this information. This is the style that I follow. How to put page numbers at the top. How to put your title centered. To double space, to use Times New Roman 12-point font. This is a beautiful guide that gives you all that stuff. And then it also reminds you like here's how to do in-text citation, and here's how to do your not your notes, because we rarely, if ever, will do notes. Here's how to put together a works cited page. So this one is really, really important, and kind of really worth your time. But then if you want to go to the citation and you want to do book citation, right? It's going to like walk you through, here's what a book citation should look like. And it looks like this. And it tells you kind of, here's what to insert, here's how to insert it. And so let's say that I didn't have my copy of Catcher in the Rye. Let's see if Google is nice enough to provide. Man, EasyBib might already have one kind of given to us. There's all types of good ways to kind of get this information. There we go. This is one of them. It's right there. I can also go to my good friend Amazon, whom I give all of my money to. And I can look up, if my computer would kick it into gear here. I can look up the information on, Barnes and Noble will have it too. Anywhere you can find this book, it's probably going to have the publisher information. And that info is going to be, here we go, in product details. And it's going to have all of the citation questions here for me to answer. So like the last name and the first name of the author, that one's apparent. The title of the book, that one's also apparent. City of publication. Well, I know the publisher. It's probably New York, New York. The other thing about this is like you can also skip information if you don't have it. So that's another thing that you could do. But you could see like after that's the publisher, and we had that, and then the publication date I had as well. So there we go. That's the publisher, and that's the the more recent. This is not obviously the first edition, but this is their first edition. Back Bay Books was 2001 when they published it. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a guide for how to follow things. If you have anything that's really off the beaten path, I would go again to this page, and it's going to give you all types of stuff. Did you find it electronically? Probably. Then go to electronic sources and see if you have it there. Was it on a web page? Find it there. Neither Slew or I are going to be too offended if you found. Sorry. We're not going to be too offended if you find a citation that's like from a website from a book that may be read online, or that somebody's brought fanfic to my attention. Like if you give me where the fanfic came from, I don't think we're going to be too offended by that. But just kind of think, like, did you think critically about this? Did it take a class for you to work through that information? Those basic types of things. That's going to help a lot as we're making our way through this final paper. And as always, I will give us Purdue OWL. I'll go ahead and put that on the resources page as well. All right. Let me know if you have questions. That's basically all I'm doing with my time right now is grading papers and answering questions. So let me know, and I will talk to you soon.